question from Anna.
You. So in our part of our evidence, we heard from Transport for London that they're concerned about the interdependencies of transport with other infrastructures, such as electronic equipment failing, for example. Do you share these concerns? And what have you looked at the knock-on effect of this? And is there more collaboration that's needed? I mean, are you collaborating? Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So I guess I'll start. Question, is there more collaboration needed? I think we are in quite a good place in terms of collaborating, firstly, within, should we say, the railway family, to the operators and so on. But in terms of the interdependencies, specifically, yes, we have a huge interdependency to power. We work very closely with our power supplier, National Power, npower. And the way our network is actually designed, so if there's a problem with the national grid in one part of the country, we have the facility to draw power in from another part of the network so we can keep our trains operating. And forgive me if it sounds a bit glib, but if we have a wider problem with the whole of the national grid, I would suggest we've got a bigger problem at hand than running just the trains. So if there's a problem with part of it, we can keep operating our services. In terms of the wider collaboration and interdependencies, we do work very closely, and as a system operator part of Network Rail, works very closely with the local authorities and organisations such as Transport for London to understand passenger and traffic flows and needs. So we have quite a good long-term planning regime in place to permit us to know where we're likely to need additional trains, and the short-term planning arrangement can be called into play as well when there is more of a short-term arrangement. So, for instance, football matches, we need more trains, we know when to run those, and that's from a close collaboration with, say, the local authorities and so on. So, primarily, it's power, but we do understand that there's a wider level of conversations that we are undertaking.
So for the strategic road network, we're less resilient. We're less dependent for our resilience on those interdependencies. So we do require power for signs, electronic signs are set on the motorways, and also for lighting. But actually, the assessments that we do say that actually you can run those networks without the power. Clearly, they work better with the power, and we do work with the power industry through the National Infrastructure Resilience Council and others to understand the dependencies, and could we do more? I think that we could perhaps do more to build a better understanding of our dependency on power. But as I say, actually it's not, the vehicles will still move without electricity. Our challenge is to keep the road users safe, but there is much less dependency on this electricity to provide that safe environment. As we move forward, and we talk about connected and autonomous vehicles, the chances are we're going to become more resilient, more dependent upon on electricity, and therefore we're going to have to build our resilience to ensure the continuity of service.
Okay, thank you. I mean, if we're looking at workplace productivity and the economy that's affected by heat waves as a consequence of disruptions on transport and that link, have you done any work to quantify how much of this productivity or the economy is affected by some of what you've just talked about, those disruptions?
In terms of the linkage to the economy, I'm afraid I don't have sight of that, so something we can happily take away and provide a written response on.
Yeah, that would be, because we've, as I said before, we've heard in our evidence that there is that huge interdependency between transport and infrastructure, particularly within a heat wave. So the effects of that on our economy, on our workforce, would be huge. It would be interesting to
Yes.
to find out more from you.
Yeah, fine. Very happy to provide a response on that. My initial thoughts are we do know performance drops somewhat in that occasion, but we're not talking about wholesale failure to get people from one point to another. What we're actually talking about is maybe some delayed journeys. So if I'm honest, I'm not cited on the knock-on impact to the economy. Certainly something that would be interesting to investigate.
I mean, people not travelling to work, for example, you know, that very basic level. If trains aren't running.
No, trains do run, but they may be slightly delayed in certain occasions.
Okay.
So as I say, the strategic, we haven't done a study either looking at the impact on the economy of high heat. As I said, you know, the strategic road network is resilient generally to high levels of heat. Clearly, when there are incidents that take place, and there are many studies looking at the impact on the economy of incidents, but actually those are not necessarily dependent upon extremes in temperature, particularly high heat waves.
Have you got any work on delay?